Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to class today. We are having a draft day, which will take most of the class period, but there are some other activities that go along with the lesson. So as you look at slide number 2, it will talk about the 3 things we're going to do in class. For our academic notes, we'll discuss academic integrity, and then we'll be looking at a couple of sample observation essays that students have written, and then finally giving students time to work on several of their assignments that are coming up next time, and as well as begin their draft of their observation essay. So with your academic notes, today we're going to talk about what the term academic integrity means. I'd like you to copy down this quote by Albert Einstein. His quote, I think, is so important because most people don't start out stealing entire research papers when they borrow other people's work. It starts with small steps that eventually leads to big steps. On this slide, this comes from a CNN broadcast where they talked about academic integrity or the lack of it happening in schools. The opening part at the top is a young lady who discussed why she feels that it's okay to cheat her way through schools. So look over that. A problem with that, again, is like Einstein said, is it leads to bigger problems. And so you can look over this list and see many of the events that have happened in the news the last few years. Famous Hollywood celebrities, senators in Congress, and even large university athletic departments like the University of North Carolina, who created cheating situations that eventually became the head of the news for not only that night, but lots of weeks and months after. So what is important about academic integrity? I would like you to click on the link here. This is a broadcast done by National Public Radio, and listen to the podcast. That it's about 5 minutes long, and it talks about students addressing questions that happen in college, and then other people talking about why it crosses the borderline of something that is wrong with academic integrity. In your academic notes, I'd like you to copy down the quote of what actually constitute academic integrity, and then specifically what each of those words in blue mean as they relate to the umbrella term academic integrity. So understand how the word ethically, honestly, and responsibly fit under academic integrity. Then I would like you to take a quiz. By clicking on this button, it takes you to a Turnitin site that they put together a quiz that goes over possible situations that students find themselves in when they are writing papers, and what constitutes plagiarism and what does not. By going through the entire quiz, you'll be able to see your results at the end. These next 2 slides talk about the difference between being a blatant plagiarizer and making dumb mistakes that fits under the umbrella of plagiarism. So read through those 6 examples and see what happens when students do one of those 6 things. Most blatant plagiarism activities lead to either a 0 or being expelled from the class. Here are situations where students are not, on this slide, are still plagiarizing, but they are, I guess you could say, more honest mistakes when they get short of time, things like that. So read through those as well. And then finally, in your academic notes, I'd like you to copy down these situations that when academic integrity problems with that takes place. I think it's important to realize that academic integrity starts in kindergarten, when we're asked to copy down passages from other people's work without realizing that it is someone else's property. The second one deals with when we don't give us enough time to complete assignments. We copy other people's worksheets. We copy big chunks out of research papers because we don't have time to think up the original ideas on our own. And the last one reiterates what we discussed earlier about how it can move beyond classrooms. And then finally, would you take time to read this article about academic integrity by clicking on the link on this slide? So that completes your sections for academic notes today. The second thing we are doing in class is reading a couple of samples of student observation essays that have been written by my students the last couple of years. In your packet, you will have 4 student samples. And please make sure I want you to read 2. Make sure that you read the one, We're All Fish in a Tank. That's a beautiful written essay because it moves beyond just observing. There's a definite purpose for the essay that you'll find by reading it. Samples 5 and 6 were not in your packet, but I'm giving those out in class today. So when you come back, just let me know and I will give you a copy of the last 2 samples. Then for your second essay, read another one so that you have a good foundation for what the expectations are for this assignment. Remember, your essay will be 3 to 4 pages, double spaced, and it's one of those 4 papers that end up being 70% of your grade. Finally, in class today, I'm giving the students time to work on some upcoming assignments and their draft. Most of my classes so far today have had 40 to 45 minutes of class time, so I'd like you to invest at least that amount of time in your own writing or completing some preliminary work for your observation essay. So let me just go over those with you. The first one is, remember, you are to read 3 professional observation essays from your packet and complete. The second one is to record the strategies and ideas on the observation chart. That is a handout that you received at the beginning of the year that's not stapled. One of the last handouts in your packet of resources. So complete that. I put subtitles on the charts. If you select a different essay than the ones that I have on there, that's just fine. You just need to cross out the title and put the title of the essay that you read. The next one, the third bullet, talks about spending time beginning your draft of your observation essay. You can only do that if you've been to the place and observed it. Use the professional models as well as the student models as how do I begin? What do I include? How am I in the observation essay? How do I not use observation as merely a story? The other thing, the last bullet during class today, it talks about completing your summary for 30 Little Turtles. Next class period and at the beginning of next class period, we will be printing that in the lab at the very beginning of class, along with your 5 initial writing prompts. Some of you, when you uploaded them into Turnitin, put them all as one document that was continuing. Make sure before you come to class that you have separated them so they can be one document, but they must all start, each one must start at the top of its own page. Also, before we print them at the beginning of class on Thursday, make sure that each one has a header with your last name and a page number, that you have a heading with your name, my name, the class and section, and the due date, a title, the text that is all in double space, and remember, use Times New Roman, and don't change the side margins at all for any of these assignments. So we will print those at the beginning of class next time. I've also on this slide included the deadlines for your rough draft and your final essay. So these are not, there are no exceptions to the rule on this one. No matter what, you have to be prepared on the 22nd with your draft for in-class revision, and also on the 24th to submit your essay into Turnitin. The final thing that I want to point out to you is if you use any kind of resource as a tool to add a detail into your observation essay, you must cite that source. And because we haven't gotten to citations yet, I have included 2 resources for you. The first one is a UVU citation guide, which clearly identifies types of sources, and you can see the content for each MLA citation. The other one actually takes you to the MLA site, and it has additional ones, but I would imagine most of you could use either resource to help you cite something if you have a detail that you borrowed from a pamphlet or a website as part of your writing for this observation paper, since we just learned about being academically or having good academic integrity. So finally, remember that eventually when you print your final copy of your essay and upload it to Turnitin, you will have a picture. So make sure you have one of those ready to go. It does not need to be in your essay at this point, however. And that's it for today. If you have individual questions, just send them to me, and we will see you all on Thursday.